Hello everybody, boys and girls of St Nicholas Junior Church, how are you? I do hope you're all well and happy and have found lots to do this week in the sunshine, even though, as usual, we can't go out at the moment. Now, I wonder, have any of you ever been fishing? Have you been on a boat or maybe on a lake or by a river and done some fishing? Well, we're going to talk about fishing today. I'm going to show you this. For fishing, we need something like this. Now, this isn't a real fishing rod, of course. This is a pretend one from a game I have. And here's a little fish. I'll show you a yellow one instead because it will show up better. And the idea is, in this game, you have to catch a fish like that. It's got a magnet on it, in fact. Normally, fishing rods, as you probably know, are much longer than this. And they have a long wire or string, and on the end of it you put something that will attract the fishes, something like a little worm or even a pretend bait of some description. And then you have a reel here, and when you can feel the tug on the fishing rod, it means there's a fish on the end, and you reel it in, and if you're lucky you catch a fish. That's one way of fishing, and I have done that actually. It's quite fun. And another way, of course, is to take one of these, which is a fishing net. There's our fishing net, and that's quite a small one, but it's got a very, very long handle, long enough. I think that's probably about 1 metre, and 2 of those is how far away we have to stay from each other at the moment, isn't it? Unless we live with somebody, of course, and that's all right. So this is a fishing net. And that's useful for if you go pond dipping, and you can catch little things in it. But of course, proper fishermen who go out in the sea, they go on fishing boats, and of course nowadays they have very, very complicated systems of fishing. But in olden days, because fishing is one of those things that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, they had very simple little boats, and fishing, as I said, has been going on for so long. And that boat there is the kind of boat that would have been used maybe in Jesus's time. It's quite a small boat, as you see, but it would have probably held about 12 people. And of course it was powered by the wind. A sail would be put up and the wind would be able to push it out onto the middle of the lake. And then we've had some stories already about fishing, and there's the nets that would catch the fish. I don't know if you can see that properly. There's some nets there that are absolutely full of fish. Apparently it's much better to go fishing at night time, because that's when the fish come up to the surface of the water. During the day they go down to where it's cool, and you can't catch them so easily then. There's another picture here of some fishermen putting up a net full of fish, and that's a picture of a plate with decorations on it of fish, because fish were very important food, still are for lots of people, but in olden times it was very important because there wasn't much meat. Fish is a good source of protein. So that's pictures and facts about fishing, and I expect you're thinking, well, why is she talking about fishing? Well, the reason I'm talking about fishing today is because our Bible story is about fishing, but it's not fishing for fish, it's fishing for people. That's a really strange idea, isn't it? But it's because in the Bible story, in the book of Matthew and another book called Luke, they tell us of a time when Jesus invited his disciples to be fishers of people, fishers of men. And one day, and this is the story, Jesus met a man named Peter. And Peter had a fishing boat, and Jesus went in the fishing boat with Peter and a couple of the other Peter's, I think it was Peter's brother Andrew, and possibly James and John as well. I'm not sure who went out in the boat, but they all went out in this little boat, and Jesus began to talk to them from the middle of the lake. Then after he'd been talking for quite a long time, and at this time the brothers and Peter and Andrew didn't really didn't really know Jesus very well. This is at the beginning of his ministry, but they loved listening to him and listening to all of the things he was talking about. But they really weren't sure at this time who he was. But when Jesus finished talking, he said to Peter, "I want you to put down your net again over the side of the boat." Peter said, "But we won't catch any more fish. It's bright daylight now. The fish have all gone to the bottom of the lake. And we've been trying all night anyway, and we didn't catch anything." But then Peter looked at Jesus and he thought, well, I'll have a go anyway. He did as Jesus said, and he put the net over the side. And then what happened? As you remember from the story last week, another time this happened, his net became so full that he could hardly pull it up onto the boat. It was absolutely full of little silver fish. And that the picture I showed you just now, I think this is it. This picture here shows you again. There are the Jesus's friends. There's Jesus, and then that's a picture of the net being so full of fish. Look how the boat is tipping. They could hardly pull up the fish. And the fact that this had happened, it was called a miracle. It's such an unusual thing to happen. And Peter then realised that this man who was with them, talking to them, was very, very special. He was something special. He was someone very, very special. And so he bowed in front of Jesus. He knelt down and he said he was willing to do whatever it might take to follow this amazing teacher. So he left his fishing boat and his old way of life. He wasn't a fisherman any longer, and he left that life in order to become a disciple. And Jesus told Peter and his brother Andrew that they would become fishers of people. And this meant that he was going to use these former fishermen in a very special way. They would be gathering more followers for Jesus, and they would serve people and help people just like Jesus did. And would you like to be a fisher for disciples? You can. Instead of sitting by a lake or scooping up fish in a pond, you can be a fisher by telling others about Jesus. And you can share his love by loving others. Jesus wants us to tell everybody about him and to make disciples for him. He wants us to be fishers of friends. And it's an amazing blessing and a privilege we have from God. We can still do our usual jobs, of course, but we can also spread the love of Jesus and catch people to be part of God's family. We need to be willing to follow him and to encourage others to do the same. We have to be followers of Jesus. Now, I've got a little prayer I'd like us to say together. So this is it. Dear God, thank you for the love of Jesus. Help us to show your love by our words and by our actions. Help us to be good fishers of people like Peter, Andrew, James and John. Thank you that we can be disciples too. Thank you for your love. We love you, God. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I think Tim will have an activity for you to do. Linked. Did you all make a fish last week? He made a lovely yellow fish, didn't he, for us? And I think he's got another fishy activity for you. And I was thinking too, a nice easy one for you to do might be this. Can you see I've made it's a bookmark. If you've got lots of books to read, it's always nice to put a bookmark in. And this one, one like this, is something you could make very easily with your coloured pens, and you'd need scissors. And what I made mine out of was an old birthday card. This is the birthday card. All you do is take a birthday card like this, and you can cut part of it out like this. Just cut you can use a ruler if it helps to cut a straight line, but I'll just do, see there, so I've just cut out a bit of the scenery, can you see? And on the back, write a little part of this story. So you could write, Jesus said, I will make you fishers of people. Or you can write, Jesus said, follow me. And then you can decorate it. And if you want to, you can make a little a little triangle at the bottom like this as well. And then colour it in with lots of coloured pens, and you can keep that for all the time you have a nice book to read, or you can put it in your Bible or your Bible story book, and it will remind you of today's story and this message from Jesus when he said, follow me. So that's all from me this week. I hope you have a lovely, lovely week again, and that the sun shines for you, and that very soon, you know, we'll all be able to go out again. But in the meantime, keep well and look after yourselves. Bye-bye.